The message came on a quiet Tuesday morning. Captain James Walker stood in the Global Defense Force Command Center, his coffee growing cold in his hand as he stared at the massive screen before him. The alien transmission played again, its crystal-clear images showing beings that looked nothing like the movies had prepared humanity for. "This is a formal notice of conquest," the alien's words translated across the screen. "Your species has been deemed too unpredictable for integration into the galactic community. The collective has decided. Earth will submit or face elimination." Walker's grip tightened on his coffee cup. 20 years of military service hadn't prepared him for this moment. Around him, the command center buzzed with controlled chaos as analysts and officers processed the unprecedented situation. "Captain," Admiral Thompson called from across the room, "the President is requesting your presence in the war room. We need your expertise on this." As Walker hurried through the underground corridors of the facility, he couldn't help but think about the irony. Humanity had spent centuries wondering if they were alone in the universe, hoping for peaceful first contact. Instead, they got an ultimatum from beings who feared them simply for being different. The war room was packed with world leaders attending virtually, their faces displayed on screens covering the walls. The President sat at the head of the table, looking older than she had in yesterday's news broadcasts. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "the alien transmission has been verified as authentic by every major space agency on Earth. The Collective, as they call themselves, has given us 24 hours to surrender." Walker stepped forward when called upon. "Mr. President, from the data embedded in their transmission, we've learned that the Collective is an alliance of 15 advanced species. They've conquered or absorbed hundreds of civilizations across our galaxy. But something about us terrifies them." "Terrifies them?" a general scoffed. "They're the ones with advanced technology." "Yes, sir," Walker continued, pointing to the analysis on his tablet. "But look at their message. They're not attacking because we're weak. They're attacking because they can't predict what we'll do. We're an unknown variable in their perfectly ordered universe." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's greatest weakness, its chaos, its emotional decision-making, its inability to always act logically, might actually be its greatest strength. "Dr. Ross," Walker called to the chief scientist, "what have you found in their technical data?" Dr. Ross stepped forward, his eyes bright with excitement despite the grave situation. "Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it's predictable. Every system follows strict logical patterns. There's no room for creative problem-solving, no adaptation, no innovation beyond their established parameters." The President leaned forward. "How can we use this?" "We fight like humans," Walker said firmly. "We use what they consider our weaknesses as weapons. Our unpredictability, our emotions, our ability to think outside their logical boxes. These are advantages they don't expect and can't counter." "We need time to prepare," the Defense Secretary interjected. "Their ships could be here any moment." As if on cue, the global alert system blared. On the main screen, hundreds of alien ships appeared, emerging from what looked like tears in space just beyond Mars' orbit. "Time's up," Walker said grimly. "But we have something they don't expect. We're used to being the underdogs. Humanity has spent its entire history overcoming impossible odds. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and our own destructive nature. We've always adapted, always survived." The President stood, her decision made. "Captain Walker, you'll lead our initial response. You understand both our strengths and their weaknesses. Humanity will not bow to these aliens. We will show them why they were right to fear us, not because we're violent or destructive, but because we never, ever give up." As Walker left the war room, he felt the weight of history on his shoulders. Humanity's first interstellar war was about to begin, and against all odds, he felt a spark of hope. The Collective thought they were dealing with an inferior species, but they were about to learn why humans had survived everything their harsh world had thrown at them. The aliens would learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its weapons or technology, but in its unbreakable spirit and its ability to achieve the impossible simply because no one told them they couldn't. The war for Earth was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what they were made of. The first battle for Earth lasted exactly 6 minutes. The collected ships, sleek and silver against the black of space, moved in perfect geometric formations. Their attack pattern was flawless, mathematically precise, and completely predictable. That was their first mistake. They're moving exactly as the computer predicted, Captain Walker said, watching from the hastily established Defense Command Center beneath the Rocky Mountains. They think we're primitive. They expect us to panic. Instead of panic, Earth's combined military forces executed what would later be known as the Chaos Gambit. While the alien ships approached in their perfect formations, humanity's seemingly outdated missiles and fighters moved in random, almost erratic patterns. "Look at them trying to calculate our attack vectors," Dr. Ross said, pointing at the tactical display. "Their ships keep pausing, trying to find logic in our movements." Walker smiled. The plan was working. Humanity's weapons might be less advanced, but they had one critical advantage: unpredictability. The alien ships, for all their technological superiority, couldn't adapt to the seemingly random attack patterns. The first alien vessel fell to what they probably considered primitive nuclear weapons, its shields calibrated for energy weapons, not the brute force of atomic explosions. The second and third followed quickly, their perfect formation becoming their weakness as Earth's forces attacked from seemingly impossible angles. "They're retreating," someone shouted as the alien fleet pulled back to regroup near Mars. But Walker knew better. This was just their test attack. They wanted to see what we could do. He turned to Admiral Thompson. "We need to prepare for their real assault." The Admiral nodded grimly. "At least we know we can hurt them." Over the next 48 hours, humanity showed why it had survived countless natural disasters and wars. Every factory on Earth switched to producing weapons and supplies. Scientists worked around the clock, studying the debris from the destroyed alien ships. Engineers began adapting their findings into existing human technology. The collective's second attack came with overwhelming force. Thousands of ships darkened Earth's skies. But this time, something was different about their approach. "They're not using the same formations," Walker observed. "They're trying to be unpredictable, but they're doing it mathematically. Look at the patterns." Dr. Ross ran the analysis. "They're using chaos theory algorithms, advanced, but still following strict mathematical rules. They still can't help themselves. They have to have order, even in their attempt at disorder." Walker contacted every major military command center around the globe. "Focus your attacks on disrupting their patterns. Force them to deal with real chaos, not their calculated version of it." Earth's defenders launched their counterattack. Fighters deliberately flew into the gaps in the aliens' carefully calculated random patterns. Missiles ignored optimal targeting solutions in favor of human intuition. Military commanders made decisions based on gut feelings rather than pure logic. The alien fleet faltered. Their attempts to predict and counter human tactics failed as humanity refused to follow any pattern they could analyze. Ships collided as humans appeared where their calculations said they couldn't possibly be. But the aliens' technology was still far superior. While Earth's forces disrupted their patterns and destroyed several ships, the collective's weapons devastated major military installations around the globe. Cities burned. Millions fled underground. As the battle raged on, Walker noticed something crucial. "They're learning," he said, watching the tactical display. "Not just calculating, actually adapting. We need to end this battle now, while we still can." He ordered every remaining nuclear missile launched simultaneously, not at the alien ships, but at empty points in space where their formation algorithms would force them to move. The aliens, unable to compute a safe route through the storm of nuclear fire, finally retreated. In the command center, amid the cheers of victory, Walker remained serious. We've surprised them twice now. We won't get a third chance. They'll analyze everything we did and come back with new tactics. Admiral Thompson looked at the casualty reports coming in from around the world. Was it worth the cost? Walker watched as teams already began salvaging alien technology from the battlefield. We've shown them we won't be an easy conquest. More importantly, we've proven their greatest weakness. They don't understand how we think, and they can't predict what we'll do next. The real war was just beginning, and humanity's greatest test still lay ahead. 3 weeks after the initial attacks, humanity made its first major breakthrough. Dr. Ross burst into the underground command center, waving a tablet excitedly. "Captain Walker, we've done it." His usual calm demeanor was gone, replaced by pure excitement. "We've figured out how their shield technology works." Walker looked up from the battle reports he'd been studying. The last few weeks had been brutal, with the collective launching small but devastating raids across the globe. But now, for the first time, there was real hope in the scientists' eyes. "Show me," Walker said, gathering the other commanders around the main display screen. Dr. Ross pulled up the technical diagrams. "Their shields are perfect, too perfect. They block everything at exactly the right frequency, with exact mathematical precision. But that's their weakness. They're so focused on perfection that they can't handle something messy and imperfect." "Speak plain English, Doctor," Admiral Thompson said. "We can break their shields with garbage," Dr. Ross explained with a grin. "Literal garbage. Random frequencies, multiple types of energy all mixed together. Their shields try to calculate the perfect defense against each type of attack, but they can't handle defending against everything at once." Walker understood immediately. Like trying to solve 1,000 math problems simultaneously while someone keeps changing the numbers. "Exactly." Dr. Ross pointed to a hastily built device on the table. "We've already modified some of our weapons. They're less efficient now, messier, but that's exactly what we need." The news spread quickly through Earth's defenses. Every military base began modifying their weapons, deliberately making them less precise but more unpredictable. Engineers who had spent their careers perfecting clean energy beams now worked to make them dirty, chaotic, and random. The next time the collective attacked, they faced a very different kind of defense. "Launch the new missiles," Walker ordered as alien ships appeared over Chicago. "Let's show them what human ingenuity looks like." The modified weapons looked almost crude compared to the sleek alien technology. They spiraled through the air in uneven patterns, their energy signatures fluctuating wildly. The alien ship shields flickered as they tried to adjust to each new frequency, each random spike of energy. Then the shields failed completely. "It's working." Mary Cooper, their lead tactical officer, shouted over the command channel. "Their shields can't handle the multiple attack types. They're dropping all over the world." For the first time, humanity began inflicting serious damage on the collective's forces. Alien ships fell from the sky, their perfect defenses undone by humanity's deliberate imperfection. But the real surprise came when they examined the captured alien technology. "Their neural patterns are completely different from ours," Dr. Ross explained, showing Walker the scans from a captured alien pilot. "They think in straight lines, perfect logic, but human brains." He pulled up a scan of a human brain. "We think in chaos. Our neural patterns are unpredictable, creative. We make intuitive leaps they can't understand." Walker studied the differences. "That's why they fear us. We're not just unpredictable in battle. Our entire way of thinking is alien to them." The captured alien technology revealed something else. The collective had never encountered a species like humanity before. Every civilization they'd met followed logical patterns of development, building their technology in predictable steps. "The humans," Dr. Ross laughed. "We invented the nuclear bomb before we invented the microwave oven. We went to the moon using computers less powerful than today's calculators. We don't follow their rules of progress." The collective's response to their losses was telling. Instead of adapting or trying new tactics, They simply increased the size of their attacks, using the same strategies with more ships. They couldn't break free from their logical patterns, even when those patterns failed. They're scared now, Walker observed, watching the alien fleet movements. They've never faced an enemy they couldn't predict, couldn't understand. And fear makes them rigid, more determined to stick to their patterns. But as humanity celebrated its first real victories, Walker knew the war was far from over. The collective was learning, slowly but surely. Their next attack would be different, more desperate. And desperate enemies were always the most dangerous. The collective's response was devastating. Thousands of ships appeared simultaneously above every major city on Earth. This time, they didn't bother with precision strikes or careful tactics. They simply opened fire. They're not even trying to be strategic anymore, Walker said, watching in horror as New York's skyline erupted in flames. This is pure rage. The command center shook as explosions rocked the mountain above them. Around the world, cities burned. Millions of people fled underground into subway tunnels and emergency shelters. The aliens had finally decided that if they couldn't predict humanity, they would simply try to overwhelm them with brute force. But they had underestimated human stubbornness once again. "Captain," Mary Cooper called from her station. "I think I found a way into their network." Her fingers flew across the keyboard as lines of code scrolled past. Their communications are perfectly encrypted, but they're too perfect. They don't account for human error at all. Walker rushed to her station. "What do you mean?" "They protect against every known type of hack, every logical approach," Cooper explained, still typing. "But they don't protect against simple mistakes. Watch this." She deliberately introduced errors into her code, creating what looked like random typing mistakes. The alien network accepted the flawed code without question. Their security systems, designed to detect perfect hack attempts, completely missed the imperfect human approach. "I'm in their system," Cooper announced with a grin. "And they have no idea because they're not even looking for something this messy." While the battle raged above, Cooper led a team of hackers in a different kind of fight. They didn't try to elegantly break the alien codes. Instead, they crashed through them with the digital equivalent of a sledgehammer, using methods so crude and illogical that the alien systems couldn't recognize them as attacks. Up on the surface, humanity fought back with everything they had. People turned their own homes into traps, using simple physics and basic chemistry to defeat advanced alien technology. A group of farmers in Kansas brought down an alien ship with fertilizer bombs. High school students in Tokyo reprogrammed cleaning robots to interfere with alien ground forces. "They can't understand it," Dr. Ross said, reviewing combat footage. "Look at their reactions. Every time humans do something completely unexpected, their entire attack pattern freezes for a few seconds while they try to make sense of it." Those few seconds were often enough. Around the world, humans exploited these brief moments of alien confusion. They didn't win every battle, but they made each victory cost the collective dearly. In London, construction workers used crane cables to tangle alien landing craft. In Rio, soccer fans turned their stadium sound system into a weapon, blasting frequencies that disrupted alien communications. Every human victory was different, unpredictable, impossible to guard against. "Their combat simulations are failing completely," Cooper reported from her hacked terminal. "They run millions of scenarios, but humans keep doing things their computers say are impossible." But the cost was enormous. Most major cities lay in ruins. Billions sheltered underground. The Earth's surface had become a battleground, and humanity could not survive a long war of attrition. "We need to do something big," Walker said, looking at the global casualty reports. "Something so completely insane that they won't see it coming." Dr. Ross looked up from his work. "I might have an idea. It's completely crazy, breaks about a dozen laws of physics, and would probably get me laughed out of any scientific conference." In other words, Walker smiled, "It's perfectly human." As they began planning their desperate gambit, Alerts flashed across their screens. The collective was launching an even larger attack wave. They had apparently decided to end the war once and for all. But in the underground bunkers and hidden bases across the planet, humanity prepared their response. It would be desperate, dangerous, and completely illogical. In other words, it would be exactly what made humans so terrifyingly unpredictable in the first place. Life beneath the Earth's surface changed everything. In the vast network of tunnels, bunkers, and converted subway systems, humanity didn't just survive. They thrived. What the collective saw as a retreat was actually the beginning of humanity's greatest adaptation. They think they've won, Walker said, walking through a converted subway tunnel, now serving as both living space and research facility. They control the surface, but they don't understand what happens when you corner humans. The underground cities were marvels of human ingenuity. Engineers had turned parking garages into hydroponic farms. Old shopping malls became hospitals and schools. Every space served multiple purposes, just as every person learned multiple skills. Dr. Ross had set up his main laboratory in an abandoned wine cellar. "The aliens can't understand our readings down here," he explained to Walker. "All their sensors are designed to detect organized, logical activity. But down here," he gestured to the organized chaos around them, "we're invisible because we look like random noise to them." Mary Cooper and her team of hackers had gone even further. They'd turned the underground's biggest weakness, limited communications, into a strength. "We're using old copper telephone lines," she explained. "Technology so outdated the aliens don't even think to monitor it. We can coordinate the entire resistance right under their sensors." But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. "Children. Watch this," Dr. Ross said, leading Walker to a classroom carved out of an old bank vault. Inside, kids played what looked like simple video games. "They're actually controlling our defense drones. The aliens can't predict our attack patterns because they're literally being controlled by children playing games." The aliens had expected humanity to break under the pressure of losing their cities. Instead, humans had created a new kind of civilization. Every defeat taught them something new. Every hardship sparked another innovation. "We've mapped their patrol patterns," Cooper reported during the daily briefing. "They're still being perfectly logical, following optimal search algorithms, which means," she smiled, "we know exactly where they won't look." Walker understood. The aliens' perfect logic had become a map of safe zones. Anywhere that wasn't tactically optimal became a blind spot. Humanity used these blind spots to move supplies, set up bases, and prepare for what was coming next. In the cafeteria, a converted subway platform, Walker overheard a conversation that summed up why humanity would never be defeated. A farmer was teaching a former software engineer about growing mushrooms, while the engineer showed him how to hack alien tech. Neither of them had known these skills a month ago. "That's what the aliens can't understand," Dr. Ross said, noticing Walker's interest. "We don't just adapt. We share knowledge. We learn from each other. Every human is becoming a master of impossible combinations of skills." The underground had changed the war's very nature. On the surface, the collected ships patrolled empty cities, fighting an enemy that seemed to have vanished. Below, humanity was building something new. "We're ready for the next phase," Walker announced in the command center, now housed in a converted nuclear bunker. "The aliens think they've won because they control the surface. They think we're hiding." He pulled up the latest reconnaissance photos. The collective had started building their own bases on the surface, following their standard colonization protocols. Everything was perfectly ordered, perfectly logical, and perfectly predictable. "They still don't understand," Walker said. "Going underground wasn't a retreat. It was preparation." Dr. Ross nodded, holding up a small device, the result of weeks of underground innovation. "We're ready to show them what humanity does best." "What's that?" a young soldier asked. "We adapt, we improve, and then," Walker smiled, "we come back stronger than ever." In the tunnels beneath the Earth's surface, humanity wasn't just surviving. They were preparing for a counterattack that would show the collective why adapting was more powerful than perfection. The real war was about to begin. Operation Thunderstorm began at dawn. All units, commence attack, Walker ordered from the underground command center. Around the world, humanity emerged from their hidden tunnels and bunkers like a swarm of angry bees. The collective never saw it coming. Their sensors, designed to detect organized military movements, completely missed the chaos of humanity's assault. Every human group used different tactics, different weapons, and different approaches. "Look at their ships," Cooper said, monitoring the alien communications. "They can't figure out where to send reinforcements because nothing we're doing makes sense to them." In New York, subway maintenance workers used their knowledge of underground tunnels to plant explosives beneath alien bases. In Tokyo, teenagers on electric bikes carried makeshift EMP devices through the alien patrol routes. In London, a group of stage performers used theatrical smoke machines to hide resistance fighters. Dr. Ross's new invention proved devastating. "It's working," he shouted, watching the data stream in. The small devices they'd developed underground emitted random energy patterns that drove the alien sensors haywire. Their systems are trying to find patterns in the chaos, but there aren't any. The aliens' response was exactly what Walker had predicted. They tried to form perfect defensive lines, to create optimal firing solutions, to follow their military doctrine to the letter. But humanity had learned to exploit this predictability. "Send in the second wave," Walker ordered. From hidden hangars, humanity launched their secret weapon. Spacecraft built from a combination of salvaged alien tech and human creativity. While the collective's ships were sleek and perfect, these human vessels looked like they'd been built from spare parts, because they had been. "They're trying to calculate our ship's capabilities," Cooper reported, still monitoring alien communications. "But they can't because no two of our ships are exactly alike." The human fleet attacked from impossible angles, using maneuvers that defied both logic and physics. Some ships deliberately scratched their own hulls to confuse alien targeting systems. Others flew so close together that the aliens couldn't get clear sensor readings. But the real surprise came from what Dr. Ross called Operation Chaos. "Launch the decoys," Walker commanded. Thousands of small drones, each programmed by children playing video games, swarmed among the human ships. The aliens' combat computers, trying to predict flight patterns based on tactical doctrine, nearly crashed trying to make sense of movement patterns based on the imagination of 8-year-olds. In orbit, the collective's mighty fleet found itself fighting an enemy they couldn't understand. Human ships would retreat, then attack for no apparent reason. Damaged vessels would ram into alien ships instead of trying to survive. Every human captain fought differently, making it impossible for the aliens to develop effective countermeasures. "Their main command ship is moving," Cooper announced. "They're falling back to high orbit." But Walker knew the battle wasn't over. "They'll try one last thing," he said. "Their logical minds won't let them accept defeat without using every option." He was right. The collective's command ship began powering up its main weapon, a device capable of sterilizing entire continents. "Now," Walker ordered. This was what they'd been waiting for. While the aliens had been distracted by the chaotic surface battle, Mary Cooper's team of hackers had infiltrated their network through thousands of small, seemingly random access points. "Initiating shutdown," Cooper said calmly, her fingers flying over her keyboard. The hackers weren't trying to seize control of alien systems. They were introducing small errors, tiny mathematical mistakes that accumulated into critical failures. The collective's mighty weapon, designed to end the war with one shot, instead backfired spectacularly. The chain reaction forced their entire fleet to retreat or risk destruction. As humanity cheered their victory, Walker watched the alien ships flee. "They still don't understand," he said quietly. "We didn't win because we're stronger or more advanced. We won because we're willing to embrace chaos, to try the impossible." But he knew this wasn't the end. The collective would return, and next time, they would be truly desperate. Humanity had won the battle, but the war's final act was still to come. The final battle wasn't fought with weapons at all. 3 days after humanity's successful counterattack, the collective's main command ship returned. But this time, it was alone. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Cooper reported from her station. It's a request for talks. The alien message was different from their usual communications. Gone was the perfect, logical structure. Instead, it seemed almost confused, emotional, almost human. They're learning, Dr. Ross said, studying the transmission. For the first time, they're trying to understand us instead of just defeating us. Walker was chosen to meet with the collective's leader. The meeting point was symbolic: the ruins of the United Nations building in New York. As he walked through the rubbled streets, Walker saw signs of life returning to the surface. Plants growing through cracked concrete, birds nesting in broken windows, humans beginning to rebuild. The alien leader wasn't what he expected. Instead of the perfect, imposing figure he imagined, the being looked tired, almost humble. "We have made a critical error," the alien spoke through a translator. "We feared what we did not understand." Walker kept his guard up. "You tried to destroy us because we were different." "Yes." The alien leader gestured at the ruins around them. "We believed perfection was the ultimate goal of all intelligent life. We saw your chaos, your unpredictability, as a disease that needed to be cured. We were wrong." As they talked, Walker began to understand the true nature of the conflict. The collective had spent millions of years building a perfect, ordered society. Then they discovered Earth, a planet where life thrived because of chaos, not in spite of it. "Your victory forced us to question everything," the alien continued. "Our perfect logic failed against your imperfect strategies. Your adaptation was stronger than our consistency. Your chaos proved more powerful than our order." Dr. Ross, who had accompanied Walker, spoke up. "You could have kept fighting. Your technology is still superior to ours." The alien leader made a gesture that might have been a sad smile. "Superior technology means nothing against a species that turns children's games into battle strategies and rebuilds starship engines from spare parts. Every time we destroyed your weapons, you made better ones from the wreckage. Every time we adapted to your tactics, you changed them completely." "So what happens now?" Walker asked. "The collective has decided. Earth will remain free. More than that, we wish to learn from you." This was not what anyone had expected. The aliens weren't offering surrender or demanding humanity's submission. They were proposing something entirely new: cooperation. "Your species has shown us that there is strength in imperfection," the alien leader explained. "You have proved that true advancement comes not from following a single path, but from exploring all possibilities. We want to understand this." The terms they offered were simple. Earth would keep its independence. The collective would share their technology, but they wanted to study humanity's way of thinking, to learn how to balance logic with creativity. "They're serious," Cooper confirmed, monitoring the alien communications. "Their entire civilization is reorganizing, trying to understand how to be more human." In the end, humanity's greatest victory wasn't defeating the collective. It was showing them a different way to exist. The aliens had sought perfection through pure logic, but humans had shown them that true perfection lay in embracing imperfection. 1 month later, as the reconstruction began, Walker stood in the new Earth Defense Headquarters, watching humans and aliens working together. Children were teaching alien scientists how to play, while alien engineers helped rebuild Earth's cities with impossible new technologies. "You know what the funny thing is?" Dr. Ross said, standing beside him. "They came to destroy us because they thought we were too unpredictable to join galactic civilization. Now they're making unpredictability the foundation of a new one." Walker smiled as he watched an alien trying to understand the concept of dancing. "Maybe that's the real reason they'll never defeat humanity. We don't just survive challenges, we transform them into opportunities. We turn enemies into friends by showing them there's always another way. And somewhere in the vast galaxy, other civilizations were learning an important lesson. Never underestimate a species that thrives on chaos, learns from failure, and turns imperfection into strength. That was humanity's true power, and it always would be.